If you watched a bunch of reviews already and you still don't know which Pimax headset you should buy for this year, then that's not your fault. It's because most of the advice out there ignores how subjective VR actually is. Specs don't show you the real image. And buying based on a few specs is how people get disappointed in VR. I mean, look at these. What do they do and how are they different? First, we need to understand what type of VR user you're gonna be, what you think is important, and in this video, we're gonna answer all of these questions. I've been VR sim racing for years, and I started out with the Quest 2, HP Refurb, and then I got into the Pimax ecosystem. This one I bought myself, and I wasn't ready to upgrade this last year until the point Pimax approached me, and I have been using all the headsets available currently, including this bad boy, the OLED. As incredible as these OLED lenses are, you can only understand that if you know what all the other headsets can do. So let's get into it. For anyone who doesn't know, when you go into VR, you're always gonna make a trade-off. You're going to get a really sharp picture, or you're gonna get some field of view, but you're not gonna get real eye vision. VR has come a long way, but we're nowhere near that point of being to like real human vision. Now, as you can see here, we have a headsets that get more field of view but suffer somewhat in picture clarity, and we have headsets that get great picture clarity but lack field of view. That's how they are set up in this scheme. Now, to understand these examples fully, you need to watch this whole video. When you're done with this video, you'll know exactly how these headsets stack up. In the previous slide, you could see that the OLED was really up here on the picture quality, but there is some nuance here you need to understand. I will explain later in the video that it's not all rainbows and unicorns. So in this graph, I'll show the GPU hungriness and the effective field of view eye movement. What does that mean? How much can I change my eyes in the headset itself? So you'll see that these headsets are more forgiving on the GPU. These ones are very GPU demanding, and the OLED is somewhere around here. But I found with night driving, then all of a sudden I do get a lot of load on the OLED. But how much I can move around with my eyes with the OLED is absolutely superior. So there's lots of reviews on vertical and diagonal field of view, and certain people have made these great graphics on how much field of view you can see on the lens and light levels and all that stuff. I will just keep it subjective as it is. I took a lot of time making these pictures and give a representation of when you put your headset on, what you're gonna see and how you're gonna experience it. So I took these different pictures. I'm changing out these different VR headsets all the time to make this as clear as possible, because that is something I would want if I didn't own all of these headsets. So the Crystal Light, good image. I recommend if you want to start VR, I would go for the Crystal Light. It is good for mid-tier GPU. Yeah, you can read these things, pause the videos. This is basically how I see the Crystal Light. And there's also something really important. This product has matured. A lot of people have bought this. That probably is being iterated a lot. Maybe it's not that exciting to get a headset like this, but this is a product after lots of iterations, so I think it's a very safe and reliable one. But what if you bought a 50 ppd instead? You spend twice as much and then you get this. The difference with just the vision, you got more ppd and you got more field of view as well, and you're gonna have a lot more options, like eye tracking and all that stuff. I'm not really using it in Le Mans Ultimate. You're gonna get a lot more. So when you switch from a light to a 50 ppd, it's like someone put the blinders off. It is like that a little bit. What if you bought an ultra wide? Then you get even more. So why would you want to get a 50 ppd then? Well, because of this. You see this? This is binocular overlap, and it's a little bit more bad on the ultra wide. So it basically means that the left display and the right display are being more pulled out of each other. Now, if you just look straight ahead and you just move your eyes a little bit from left to right, it's okay. But I found this to be a lot better on the 50 ppd, and this one has it as well. All the headsets will have this. So you want to think about that these headsets, to go from the light to the 50 ppd, to create the same sharp image, you're gonna load up your GPU like twice as hard. So I'm running a 5090 and I am struggling to drive this at native resolution on Llama Ultimate. Now I might tweak some settings in Llama Ultimate, but I think I figured it out for 95%. If I have lots of cars, night racing, I cannot run it in native resolution. This one you can, but then the image is gonna be more or less the same. Now then we have the 50 ppd, and what if you got the 57 ppd? And you can basically create the same image again, but with half the load. But the 57 ppd has this insane sharp image on the center, which is absolutely wild. True story here, when I used the 50 ppd first and Pimax sent me the 57 ppd, I didn't want to change it anymore because this sharpness was way better. So I pushed, like, if you go really into the depth of how these lenses are created, it's basically a lot narrower field of view with the same resolution. So that's gonna make it sharper in combination with this 57 ppd, the pixel per degree. But there's a problem here, and that is this. Although around the sweet spot you do get sharpness, but it's like making your eyes strain. So if you're close to the center, you can kind of read it out, but if you go more away from these, let's say from the sweet spot, things get really difficult to read. And the biggest objection you would have with the 57 ppd, if you're gonna look a lot at menus, then you're gonna be screwed. So if you're a car setup builder in sim racing and you're doing iRacing, you are in trouble. Or you just need to switch this head of yours all the time to where you want to look. So that's the downside of that headset. As for field of view with the 57 ppd, it is a lot less. Compared to the Crystal Light, I think the 57 ppd has a bit more. It's still more. If you wanted to see a big jump in sharpness and picture clarity, going from a Crystal Light to a 57 ppd makes sense. So this is how I think about the 50 ppd. You're more of an enthusiast about VR, you do have more to spend. I also think the Super headsets compared to the Lite have better comfort. They're a bit heavier, but they feel better. They're got a lot bigger sweet spot, so it's very, you're gonna set this on your face way more quickly than a Crystal Light. You need to figure out for yourself if you're gonna pay twice for this overall 20% improvement. I do think the 50 ppd is most balanced of the QLED lenses. So here you have it. You have less binocular overlap, you have slightly more field of view. Again, you're chasing field of view, nothing else matters. And this one is also great for mid-tier GPUs. Also want to really remember with the 57 ppd that the long distances are mega sharp. You can really see far away with this headset. Hey, and if you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button? That really helps me out. And check out the description. I'll always put some discount codes there. Lots of people have purchased headsets via my codes, and I'm telling you, sir, I'm forever in your debt. Let's move on. If you're currently on a Crystal Light or, I don't know, another headset, and you want to feel that big jump in color, vibrance, and usable field of view, so you can really use your eyes from left to right, then the Super K OLED is pretty amazing at this. So I'm not joking that it's gonna be this difference. The sky is gonna be bluer, the grass is gonna be greener, the shadows and contrasts are better. But if you already have a 50 ppd, for me it doesn't really make sense to spend another whatever, how much it costs, on a module that's gonna give this. If you have these different modules in your room and you have an OLED in your room, you're gonna use it. But to upgrade it from a 57 ppd to 8K OLED, I don't know. The free eye movement in the OLED is a lot better than the 57 ppd. You got basically the same sharpness as a 57 ppd, but on the Super K OLED you can look around in it. And I think the Super K OLED also has a bit more field of view than the 57 ppd. To the point when I came from the 50 ppd to the OLED, it's a bit more narrow, but I didn't find it like a problem. If you are night racing with a 50 ppd or a Crystal Light, local dimming by the way, I highly recommend the local dimming Crystal Light if you want to buy a Crystal Light. The very bright heads-up display, it creates some whiteness around it. But yesterday I was in my own real car and I have this like USB charger, and in real life it's the same. So, but these menus are distracting at night, but if you turn them off, I think the night racing on the 50 ppd, 57 ppd ultra wide, Crystal Light local dimming, I think it is really good. I don't see an issue with them. But if you use the 8K OLED, then it's gonna be like this, and the far dark sky, it's just gonna be more contrast. It's gonna be really black. This is what they didn't lie about. It is really true. And the coloring, it's not like it's cartoonish, so you need to understand like, okay, it's gonna be more colorful, it's gonna feel like cartoon. No, it's gonna look more real. So there is a big improvement on that 8K OLED. Again, for daytime racing, if you're used to a 50 ppd or Crystal Light, you're gonna accept how things look, but then when you're on the OLED, it's gonna be like this deeper colors and contrasts. But there is a big issue with the 8K OLED, and that's what I want to talk about right now. Now look at this image. I put distortion here and over here, and on this yellow Corvette here as well. This is what you get when you look at thin lines and certain like very sharp objects on track. It's gonna look snowy and distorted. And I haven't found any setting to tune this out. I used mega high resolution to see if it was disappearing, but it wasn't. Also the sharpness, the sharpness in the Pimax menu, I put all the way down. It got a little bit better, but it's definitely something you cannot tune out at the moment. And I think this is the caveat of the 8K OLED. You want to be aware of this, because I can imagine it's going to be a deal breaker for some people. And if they say that the Dream Air is going to have the same panels, then the Dream Air is going to have this as well. So if these headsets would not have this distortion and like snowy object in the distances, then it would be perfect. Now it's not perfect. I'm not gonna lie, on the 2nd of January they made a video about presenting this and using these panels for this very tiny headsets. I get really excited about this because we can get rid of the elephant in the room or the elephant on our head. It's gonna be lighter. I also want to point out something about these headsets when you are sim racing, because the weight of the headsets isn't really an issue for me. But I can imagine if I would do like this. So let's say I have this headset on, I put it on here, like this, and I would do this. Then that weight is a big problem. But why would you ever do that in sim racing? I don't get it. So then there's also this notion of discomfort. This device, after 3 hours, probably gonna give some discomfort as well. So obviously we're gonna have to see how good this is. Another thing that I think is that with the Dream Air, how can it be tracking and all that stuff, and how it operates and how it cools? How can it be the same optimization as the Super? Why can these headsets all of a sudden be like 3 times smaller? What compromises are being made there? I'm really curious for this. And this is the last point I want to make on this video, and what you should buy in 2026. Don't be this. Maybe this will be the end all be all. Who knows? But this is going to be a first iteration. So if you pre-order this, you could get disappointed. And I saw already in the comments like, oh, I pre-ordered. You know what comments I also read? Oh, I got the pre-order and it's not on time. They don't make the deadlines, blah, blah, blah. So I think pre-orders are good to vote, a voting mechanism to vote that you really want these headsets. But I would rather have like the second or the third iteration of it to get all the child diseases out of it, basically. So that's basically how I think about the VR headsets in 2026. So to summarize this a little bit, yes, picture clarity, a little bit less sweet spot on the OLED with the distortion. The 57 ppd does not have the distortion, so we could be looking at the absolute sweet spot that this still might be the winner, but obviously the OLED gonna have the blacks, but then they're gonna have the distortion as well. And you can now see how the 50 ppd gives you this field of view compared to the sweet spot and 35 ppd of the Crystal Light. Also the GPU hungriness, so if you don't have like a 5090 or a 4090 or maybe a 5080 or a 4080 maybe, but if you're gonna have like a 4080, I already would advise you to do this headset, maybe this one as well, but there's just no telling. I think that this Micro-OLED, I did see some lot of frame times in night driving as well with my 5090, so it's really a little bit challenging. Also with the Dream Air coming out and the OLED panels being maybe developed, maybe they can get rid of the distortion for this year in 2026. If you have a Crystal Light, I would wait for the Dream Air. If I already have a 50 ppd and you really want to get a small headset in the future, use this, enjoy this, and then maybe next year they're gonna be like this Dream Air later iterations. Makes more sense to me. Also for the overall value, if you want to get into VR, if you want to start, I think this Crystal Light is still really well. Like I explained at the beginning of the video, I was happy when I purchased this. There's gonna be a lot of like opinions about it, what I'm gonna say about this. I think this is the most iterated product and it has the least chance of disappointing you. And imagine if you really like VR and you bought this, maybe you can buy it secondhand somewhere, whatever. Then going to a Dream Air OLED is gonna be a massive jump. So that will absolutely makes it sensible for you. Another thing I wanna point out, there will be some people desperately wanted to pick up this. They will maybe sell their Supers. So maybe you can pick up a Super a little bit cheaper on the secondhand market. I'll make a full review of the OLED soon, and that one will be in the description. But if you're not sure about VR in the first place and how things work with GPU, beginner settings, tracking systems, and all that stuff, you wanna watch this next video. This is my 5 years experience beginner VR video. It's gonna contain a lot of different information than this video, so have a look. Thanks for watching.